Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Teesha, and today we're going to do a video we haven't done for a little while. This is going to be what's their favorite candle, and this is the Seinfeld edition. This one was highly recommended to me by JG, thank you, and she asked me to do this a few months ago, and I decided I was going to do my due diligence and research, aka rewatch the entire series, 9 seasons, but it was really fun to rewatch. So I'm a 90s kid. I was an 80s baby, but I was a 90s kid. And this show premiered in 1989. I was 7 years old. Here's a little 7-year-old me. And my mom absolutely loved the show. So I actually vividly remember watching this with her because I grew up in a time where there was just like one TV in the house and everybody kind of had to watch the same thing. Yeah, as a little kid, I watched this show. Did I understand any of the jokes? No, but I remember it replaying through syndication. And when I got older, this show went 9 seasons. So I was like 14, 15 when it ended. And I did think it was quite funny. It was a show about nothing, but fun fact, they didn't really want it to be that. It just kind of became that because each episode was its own entire show. It did follow the lives of Jerry Seinfeld and his 3 friends, sorry. So we're gonna give each of them a favorite candle based on just my flashbacks to that series and what I could find in my collection. That's always a rule that fit them. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Leave me a comment down below. I'm working on a few other ones, but as I do different videos, kind of push these down. So thank you, JG, for being patient with me, because I know you asked me to do this a long time ago, and I'm working on a few more 90s sitcoms and movies, so that will be fun. Because again, that's when I really got into pop culture, and I loved all these things. And if I'm being honest, rewatching the show, I don't think that a lot of the things that they got away with, they would get away with today, but I'm not going to get into all of that. So we're just going to jump right in. So we're just going to do a favorite candle for each of the 4 main characters. So of course, we'll start with Jerry Seinfeld, who wrote the show with Larry David. He's a stand-up comedian, I'm sure you all know. And I had a lot of things that I considered, but I really couldn't find a candle for. So he had the man hands, he did the hello, he had the episode where he drugged his girlfriend with some, I don't know what it was, but to play with her vintage toys. And there were just so many funny moments. But of course, we had to pay respect to the puffy shirt. So in one episode, Kramer's girlfriend talked so low that you couldn't hear her. And it was funny, but she basically had Jerry agree to wear her shirt. She's a designer on, I think, Jay Leno or his talk show, or a show like that, a nightly time show. And so he gets this shirt and it's like a pirate shirt. Of course, I'll insert a photo. So thinking of that and the fact that he allegedly owns 500 pairs of white sneakers, just white sneakers, I assigned him the candle, this, I don't know if they'll fit, Laundry Day. Because again, clothes themed. Now this one also, I mean, they lived in New York, so of course they're in those high-rise apartment buildings where like there was a laundry room, but him and Kramer lived across the hall from each other. But most of the show was filmed in like Jerry's kitchen. So I kind of thought like on that theme too, like a lot of it was filmed in his home or in the diner. And this was the best candle I could come up with because I didn't have a puffy shirt candle. But the notes on this, fresh air, crisp eucalyptus, and soft lavender. And you know, I'm pretty sure this is what that puffy shirt smelled like. It's very like whimsy and frilly and fluffy and like, you know, fancy clothes like you get in New York City. So I know that's probably a really loose connection, but we have to remember that the puffy shirt like landed in a museum somewhere or something. So there we go with that. And so next we're going to do Elaine. She was my favorite, of course, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I think is her name. And for her, I was, oh my gosh, I had so many things. I was trying to find a muffin. I only had banana walnut muffin, but I was like, oh, the lemon poppy seed muffin where she like fails her drug test and can't go on a trip for work. And it was the muffins. Or of course, if I had soup, because she got into it with the soup guy. And I couldn't find anything like dance because she had that funny dance that she would do. And people are like, oh no, did Elaine dance? I didn't have any candles for that. And then also I was really wanting something square or bathroom related even, because I love the episode where she asks the next door stall to spare a square. I mean, how many of us haven't just done that to our friends, or at least did back in the 90s. So, but yeah, I don't have any toilet paper candles, which I'm glad for. So this is the one that was like in the last season that really made me just chuckle. And I kind of forgot all about this moment. Her boss, his name's Jay something, Jay Peters or something. He, she gets away with so much under him, but he bought this cake from like a royal family wedding and puts it in a fridge at work. And she goes in when he's not there and she's sampling it. And then she accidentally eats this whole royal cake that he paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for or something. So I went ahead and decided that she gets the white velvet coconut cake candle. This is notes of white velvet cake, coconut shavings, white buttercream. Look, I've had this for months and it's still coming out of the jar, but I just don't want to return any more candles. It doesn't look too bad on the inside, but oh my goodness, this is fancy cake. And that's why I chose this one for her. She was like also really opposed to her office having celebrations for people leaving and baby showers and birthdays. And she like revolted. And then she was like secretly eating all of the cake. So she definitely gets like a cake candle. She was teeny tiny, but like a lot of her funny jokes were centered around like food or things like that. And I just love her because she held her own with those funny men in the show. And I don't know. She was one of those ladies in the 90s. I was just a young preteen that you're kind of like, oh, I can't wait to grow up and move to New York City and be like Elaine. Like, honestly, I was very much an Elaine. Like, I really was. I had a lot more guy friends and girlfriends, and she resonated with me quite a bit. But I just really love this show. But a lot of the things she got away with, she would not be able to get away with in a show today. But this cake scent in particular is more than just your basic cake. I've always said when I review this or share it in a review, this candle is the fancy cakes at the fancy bakery that costs a lot of money, and it throws. So this is definitely a scent that would have attracted Elaine to that fridge to be stealing pieces of cake. That episode was really funny. Okay, so let's talk about George Costanza. And he was really funny. He lived with his parents. He was engaged, and he bought like cheap stationery for their engagement pictures or for their invitations. And his fiance, which was played by Susan, which no one liked, she licked a bunch of envelopes and passed away from poisoning. Like, he just lived this want life, but I feel like, and he tried to keep up with Jerry. But he rarely had a job. Then he'd have these jobs that were like over the top. You're like, how did he get that job? But it wasn't real life, and that's what we loved about it. And he was played by Jason Alexander. I think that's right. So the candle I had to give him was from the episode where he said, I was in the pool. If you remember, Jerry's girlfriend walks in on him changing, and she giggles and shuts the door. And then he's like, I was in the pool. And so his candle was probably the easiest for me to assign. I went with Crystal Waters. This has notes of sparkling saltwater, jasmine blossom, and blue seagrass. And it kind of was pool themed for me. And it kind of just was like, that was an obvious one. But it also kind of smells like a cheaper man's cologne. I don't feel like this is one of the fancier scents in the men's cologne-esque candle world from Bath and Body Works. It's not bad, but it's just clean soap. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably something he spritzed on because, he was most of the time jobless, living at home, like that whole scene too. But mostly I tied this candle to him because he says, I was in the pool. And I remember as a kid, like kind of getting it, but not really getting it. And then like this last time we watched it through, I was like, that is so funny. So anyway, let's move on to Kramer, Cosmo Kramer, who he was harder for me because a lot of the things about him were so funny, but they were so physical comedy. Like, do you remember the episode where he puts the jeans on, like the skinny jeans? I don't know what they called them, like either skinny jeans or mom jeans, but like then he can't get them off and he's like trying to have Jerry remove them and he's like moving furniture and these jeans are not budging. I really wish I could have found something for that. He didn't work, and you think as a child that's no big deal. But then you watch these shows back as adults and you're like, how do you afford an apartment in New York and you do these odd jobs once in a while, but no like steady job didn't make sense to me. So for that reason, and besides, he was just so cool. He added this element of comedy to the show that the other three didn't really do. A lot of physical comedy and just a lot of like his presence made everything 10 times funnier. So for that, we're giving him the Joe Cool candle, Palm Trees in Paradise. This has scent notes of summer musk, refreshing aloe, bright citrus, and eucalyptus leaves. He did a lot of like incense burning and that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of elements to this candle that just make it seem fancy, but you don't know why. And I think that's kind of Kramer for me. It's like, how'd you afford that apartment without a job, friend? And, you know, all the things that he just got away with were so funny. Having little businesses in his apartment. I loved the one where he was accidentally, his number was switched up with movie phone. So people would call him and he would pretend to be, hi, welcome to movie phone. And I remember calling things like that, not exactly that back in the day, but that was how we absorbed technology. So it was so fun to watch, but like also those were the thoughts I had watching it through as an adult. I was like, how did he afford these 9 years? I mean, Jerry was at least a famous comedian, so like that made sense. And Elaine had a job, and George lived with his parents when he didn't have a job. So like those made more sense, but I just didn't understand how Kramer paid that high rent from New York City. So we're giving him Palm Trees in Paradise because he skated away with that somehow. So that is it. That is all. These are just fun videos. I will link a few throughout this video. I've done Friends. I've done all kinds of different themes for Christmas and Halloween. And I would love to know if there's any that you would love me to work on. It's also a fun way for me to rewatch the show or the movie and get back into it. And I love this. Even if it's kind of a weird concept, it still is kind of fun to just talk a little bit about something from the past and attach it to something that I'm actually doing on this channel. So I hope it makes sense to you. I don't do it very often anymore just because I've come up with some different content, but I do love to flash back and do it because it was one of the first videos I came up with that I thought was kind of interesting and unique. Sometimes I'm probably way off, but I also thought these were kind of fun to talk about. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Leave down below if you like the style video. If you don't, that's cool too. You can leave that down below. Or if you have any recommendations, I would love to hear. And I will see you all in a video probably tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.